Hey, I'm Matthew Tringali, CEO and co-founder here at BetterWho.
What's up? I'm Jay Berube, co-founder of BetterWho and doing a bunch of things.
Jay, you and I both grew our businesses very rapidly, kind of in that 2008 to 2015 era, when there's a whole lot of financial things happening around the country. And I know at the time we grew it through Realtor Referrals was a big strategy for both of us. Since then, the market has changed a lot. And we've seen a lot of swings in the market since then, right? We've seen where it was very much a seller's market. And so it was harder for a little while to get some of those realtor referrals because those realtors, they could sell anything they wanted to. It's like shooting fish in a barrel, right? We're starting, I think, to see some changes in the industry again now, where pretty much everywhere around the country, we're seeing more stale listings, even expired listings. We're seeing more realtors getting frustrated. Of course, there's been a complete change in the way the real estate sales industry works in the last 2 years. A lot of them dropping out of the market. I know this is something that you coach a lot of our clients through, both the business owners and the BDMs, still as a core strategy and a core growth strategy around using realtor referrals. So my first question is, how have you seen that strategy change over the years? How might somebody approach it differently now or the same now compared to how we might have done it 20 years ago?
Good question. 20 years ago, we had a big opportunity with the Great Recession. And at that time, if you weren't in the business then, what we saw was a lot of, especially Southwest Florida is where I was operating. And there was a lot of new construction that I was selling. And people were sleeping overnight, waiting in lines to get properties. And it was really cool. And you felt really fortunate if you got your name picked to buy something.
Right.
Yes, you're lucky. You're spending $300K with us. Thank God. But people could put down 5 or 10 grand and then they could assign that contract to someone else and make a lot of money. And all of a sudden, I just remember it was like the music stopped. It was almost like overnight that properties just did not sell. You could not assign anymore. And there were a ton of speculators holding on to properties that they had to figure out what to do with them. We asked somebody, hey, you want to rent out your property? And they're like, yeah, sure. And then we asked a lot more and did that to get about 20 properties right out of the gate. And I'm like, man, this is a lot of work. I need to figure out who has access to these people at a higher level. So I started asking my realtor friends who just really they wanted to solve the problem for their investors. So I would get 5, 10, 15 leads at a time just from one real estate agent. So it was so easy to grow rapidly. But yeah, over the years, what we've seen is the market got way stronger, right? And when people can sell without even putting their home on the market, then it's much more difficult. It's almost nearly impossible for a while there to get any new doors from realtor referrals. But that's all changing now. We're seeing the indicators, depending on the market, depending on the time, you see the indicators of days on market for rental or sale increase.
Yeah. And
that means the opportunity is there, right? Price reductions for sales, but also price reductions on rentals because it's just all supply and demand. Yeah, it was a really unique time back then. And I think right now we're primed for that as well.
Yeah, that's great. I was just on a call last week, actually, and this is a common question I get from people. They're like, but I do sales, and so I really can't ask for realtor referrals. Now, you and I both know that's true, but so tell us, right? Why isn't that true? What would you tell somebody in that situation?
Yeah, I talk to people about this all the time, and there's definitely variables. First question I would ask is, do you have 2 separate companies? Is one of them your brokerage and the other one your property management company? If so, that's easier, right? You just lean into the property management, and that's what we did. I had name recognition down there as an individual, so people already knew and they had that know and trust, which is another aspect. So if you really lean into building that know and trust factor, then it's not an issue, right? People know that you're going to send them back to the realtor when they're ready to sell. And then also being very clear on what that looks like, the value proposition that you offer for your referrals. It's okay. So we will pay referral fees and we will take care of your clients and we will send them back to you when they're ready to sell. And when you're very clear about that up front, typically it's not an obstacle. So if you are running into that obstacle, you need to just stop for a sec and figure out how do I need to switch my language right now.
Yeah, and I generally do recommend that you have separate brands for sales and property management for the reason you mentioned, but also because we all know in property management, you're going to get 1-star reviews, right?
Yeah,
and
you are.
There's an understanding that, yeah, okay, I did. Raise my hand.
No, I got plenty of those, yeah.
But there's an understanding in the industry that, like, yeah, of course, you're going to get a 1-star review. But on the sales side, like, if you're going to hire a realtor and you see a realtor got a 1-star review from selling somebody's house, you're like, that's weird, right? And so for that reason alone, there's also reasons to do that. Now, one of the things that I did when I was doing realtor referrals back then and I had sales and property management is I told my realtor referrals, I said, listen, if your client ever in the future decides they want to sell or purchase another investment, I'm always going to send them back your way so you have the opportunity to engage in that service with them. And if for whatever reason we have a break in our process and we accidentally don't do that and we end up selling something of theirs before you had the opportunity for that business, I'm going to send you 100% of the commission. I never had to do that, but that created some peace of mind for them as well.
Did you put that in writing?
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah, we had a realtor referral agreement, and yeah, we put that in writing.
Yeah, interesting. I had something like that would be generated if they submitted a form on the website, but fact is they never submitted a form on the website,
right, yeah.
Which is fine. And we never had that in writing. But again, like when the trust factor is there, it's fine whether you do or whether you don't. They just want to like feel good about it. So yeah, everything that you can do to make somebody feel good is going to help.
Yeah. Now, one of the things, anytime you're engaging in any type of business, it's always about value exchange, right? So if you're a property management company and you're doing a realtor referral, you're asking for something from them, right? You're asking for a referral. Now, some of the value exchanges, realtors in general, they like that, right? They like being an industry expert and know that they're giving their client the best resource available. But there are other ways you can create value for that realtor as well. We have one of our consulting clients who has started doing this monthly educational event for the local realtor community called Bites and Bright Ideas. And so they'll invite the whole realtor community, and they'll come and they'll put on these sort of educational sessions, things like that. I'm curious what comes to mind for you where you've seen that work. What types of things might you do? Who might else you invite? That type of thing.
First, tell me a little bit more about that one. Is it when it's
Bites and Bright Ideas?
Bites and Bright Ideas. Do other people come with bright ideas? Is it more of a masterminding opportunity that the property manager is facilitating?
Yeah, so the property management company is definitely setting themselves up as the industry expert. They're there as the primary educator to educate the realtor community about various things they may want to know. The Bites part is they're providing beers and food and whatever, right?
Yeah.
But then, yes, they also will bring in like a mortgage professional or an insurance professional, things like that can also add value and education to the realtors.
Yeah, I think there's 3 solid ways to go about it. One of them is you come in as the expert, you first identify a pain point that a real estate agent would have, and a simple one would be that realtors still like to do tenant placement, right? They're like, we want to place this tenant, which by the way, just a little plug, Courtney Parks, one of our clients, she had a massive increase in profitability this year. She doubled her profit check for last year. And the number one reason is because in one of our coaching sessions, she was letting realtors place tenants in the properties, right? And then she would manage them. And I said, what if you didn't? She said, what do you mean? So she put a policy in place to where she's the only one. She lost some of those realtors. She's the only one that places them now. So like her leasing fee skyrocketed and like just such a massive jump from like one little thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, what question did you ask me?
You were starting to say different ways to educate the realtor community. You were talking about how a lot of them to do placements.
Perfect. Yeah. So, when you do a placement, like we know there's this fair housing thing that we have to abide by. And there's a lot of liability out there.
Right.
I know when I was managing properties, I was at a time with Keller Williams, and then I had my own brokerage as well, which was my property management brokerage. And one thing I know is that the litigation issues related to property management were like 100x of that from real estate issues. There was just so many.
Yeah.
And
we all know when we go to CE, right? Like the vast majority of the horror stories you hear and the things that get reported to the real estate commission are around property management, right?
Yeah. It's like having a bunch of Yosemite Sams out there, and Sam being gender neutral, but you have having a bunch of Yosemite Sams just like leasing out places, not knowing what they're doing, just because like they don't have the education. And then a lot of times brokerages didn't have E&O insurance for property management. So what a liability. So when you get to come in as number one, right, the industry expert, and you can do like the ABCs of leasing.
Right.
And you just do a quick presentation about certain liabilities with placing tenants, and you do it as a way of giving back, right? A way of giving value, being like, look, if you want to do tenant placement, if you want to lease out your properties, these are the things you have to be aware of. But what ends up happening is the awareness is now there, and the realtor's like, okay, so if I give it to you,
yeah, for right? You're probably also going to be able to, if you want to, offer a referral fee that for not that much less money than what they might get on a leasing fee anyway.
For real, yeah. So that's one way. Another way is doing the events like you're talking about. They can be mastermind events, where you host like a very specific type of mastermind, or bites and brews. So like you can be the expert, or you can bring in another expert to talk on a subject matter that's important to them, or just any other type of event. But that's what we call the one-to-many approach.
Yeah.
The leveraged activities. Oh, and here's a bonus, right? Where most people miss the mark because like you're so busy setting this thing up and it's new to you and you want to get it right, that most people don't think about the post follow-up, what to do afterwards. Now I'll give you an example. Let's say you do a broker presentation for 100 agent brokerage, and maybe there's only 10 people there.
Sure.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, and by the way, I want to pause on that, right? Because a lot of business owners feel discouraged when that happens, right? Like they do this invite and they invited 100 people and only 10 show up, which is normal. Or even if you do an RSVP and say 20 RSVP'd, but we all know, again, only about 10 of those are going to show up. And I just want to say, don't be discouraged when that happens. My stance always is, frankly, even if only 1 or 2 people showed up, the right people showed up. They're the ones that are there, they care, they're investing in the relationship. So whether or not you get 50 people to come to an event or only one person comes, take advantage of that opportunity.
It's great hearing your opinion first, because I don't care if anybody shows up.
Okay, good.
Yeah, because I'm taking that 100 agent roster and I'm drilling the phones.
Love it.
Be like, hey, this is Jay with Encompass Property Management.
Yeah.
We just did a presentation today on the ABCs of rentals, of leasing, if you want to rent out your properties. I'm just wondering who you refer your property management business to. So like you have instant authority and credibility just by having that booked with the brokerage. Now you position yourself as the strategic partner with the brokerage. And guess what? If something just starts to happen, right? Now all of a sudden, and you guys see in the media today, now all of a sudden everybody believes it to be true.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden you are the strategic partner for that brokerage.
Yeah, and I'm just now thinking about this, because I'm sure you already have thought about this.
Probably not.
Well, if you're there doing an event anyway, turn a camera on, just set up a tripod, turn your iPhone on, record yourself doing it. Now you have tons of great content. You turn into blog content on your website. And when you're doing those follow-up sales calls, if you're able to just create a little 2-minute snippet video, which with the tools that are out there now, some of those AI tools like Descript and whatever, it's so easy to just grab a video. It doesn't have to be sexy and the right lighting and whatever. Frankly, that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah,
right?
Look at us.
There's no cameraman behind this iPhone right now. There's no fancy lighting here. And that immediately creates authority that you can send out to those folks. You're not just Joe Blow calling, but you can be like, hey, here's some of what we talked about.
Did I ever tell you about the first time that I recorded a content video for property management?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. It was this one video, and it was only supposed to be 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
Okay, and it was the horror stories of property management. So like I wrote this elaborate script like that probably took me days to do. I got all the equipment, I had all the things, I was sweating, I was wearing a 3-piece suit. Oh my God, I was so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Hours later, and 88 takes later.
Yeah.
I look at my final video and it was freaking terrible. I'm like, this is awful. And then when I finally realized I don't have to be stiff.
Right.
People just care about the message and they care about the authenticity. And when you can be comfortable, that's what makes the difference. They want you to deliver because they don't want it to be boring information. And we know that if you're comfortable, it's much easier to deliver. The strategy that we were just talking about, also then, if you do the thing and you position yourself as the person, the strategic partner, then it's much easier to formalize as well, right? Because the word gets out, people start talking, and then you can go to the broker or the team leader, and you can actually formalize that strategic partnership.
Yeah.
And it's easy. We do R&D a lot, rip off and duplicate.
Yep.
Because not ever any first times. Like most things are just different versions of how you introduce something. So concepts are usually always there. So I grabbed this one agreement from the brokerage, and this was a 1,000 agent brokerage.
Yeah.
And they had a partnership agreement with other people. So like I pulled that and then I changed the language to make the agreement work for both of us as far as what I was going to offer them and what they were going to offer me. And it doesn't always have to be money. There was no money exchange. What I offered them was like some education, being present, and I guess some money because they wanted me to do a couple sponsored lunches and stuff.
Yeah.
But they had an intranet to where they were promoting me all the time. And even if they don't promote me, you can't sit around and be passive.
No, yeah.
You have to be active. You got to get out there, just get on the phone or get on the intranet or email, and just communicate with people and answer their questions. Find a community of real estate agents online and just start engaging and helping them with property management related questions. When they ask property management related questions, then you can become the authority. You can be the Facebook king or queen of Realtor Referrals.
Yeah, and speaking of the partnership agreement, that reminded me of what I wanted to ask earlier, right? Which is...
I knew it.
Yeah, which, two things. Number one, just because you have a partnership agreement with a brokerage, we know those brokers are still going to refer whoever they want to refer to.
Yep.
It's not going to tie their hands,
Yeah.
which means you still have to, of course, be delivering value, but also be creating those personal relationships with each and every one of those brokers that you can, so they have no trust with you. They're not going to refer to you. It may open the door, the fact that they may go ask their broker and say, hey, who do we send? Oh yeah, we send it to ABC Property Management. That may open the door, but you got to create the relationship. Which, the flip side of that is, when you make that call, one of the things is, if you call somebody, even if they have in-house property management, don't let that stop you.
That's right.
So tell me more about that.
Yeah, so property management is the sanitation business of real estate, right? It's down and dirty, we're doing the work, and it's easy to make mistakes. And we see it a lot, right? Our competitors, we see a lot of bad reputation out of there. And when people make mistakes, what do? You look for other options. So my language around that, if they said, oh yeah, I refer them to the in-house team. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, look, I get it. You have a plan A. This is what we know. So it would probably make sense to have a plan B, wouldn't it? Yeah, it is. It's cool. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to shoot you a quick email and a text and save my contact info as property manager plan B. And then that way, when you need that plan B, you can just go to your phone and just give me a call.
Yeah, and I would probably even probe a little bit further. Always a great sales question. We know this with landlord clients, right? If you're talking to a landlord client and they say, oh yeah, you've used a property management company in the past, and it's great. What's worked well or didn't work well about your last property management company, right? Always a great sales question. No different for Realtor Referral. Oh yeah, I already have somebody that I refer to. Great. what's working about that relationship, what's not working about that relationship, and then just listen. You'll get good feedback regardless of what happens, because you'll hear what do they value when they answer the question of what's going well. You'll know, oh, this is what people seem to value. Great, I can make sure I'm fine-tuning my value exchange around those things. And then when they express what's not working well, oh, those are the pain points. If I'm solving these pain points for people, I know I've got something here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Closing words. Anything else you want to say as for people who maybe they've done this in the past, they're trying to restart, or maybe they've never tried it before? Yeah, closing words of wisdom here.
Yeah, get started. Baby steps. If you try to, just like anything in life, if you try to bite off more than you can chew, if you just think of something as like this big overwhelming goal, guess what? You're never going to do it. Just think small. I know, sounds crazy, because we have core values, think big, do small. But when you get started, I think it's important to think small and do small. Then you get the reps in, you get consistency, you get wins. And then it's like, all right, cool, I can do this. So you have to build the confidence.
If you were taking on a new coaching client right now, and they weren't doing realtor referrals, and you knew you'd circle back around later to think of the big strategy, but you wanted to give us something this week of, okay, this week you're gonna do X, what would you say?
I'm sorry, because you lost me, because I was just on a coaching call earlier, and until you said that last part, I was like, that perfectly described what we actually just spoke about, which is when we first started working together, like for a couple of months, we actually just worked on some of the big picture stuff.
Okay.
So like she got her first event happening, and then she got her first broker presentation happening, and she got some reps in, like 115 calls per week. She didn't always hit that number, but 115 realtor calls per week. And we set a main goal for doors. And then today, what we did is we said, okay, look, now you got in some of these reps, right? So now that you have some small wins, we're gonna look at building a more strategic approach. And we're gonna look at who are your ideal clients, and then who are the sources, right? Which we know in this case, it's realtors. And then what do you need in order to achieve 7 new doors a month? So for them, their average was 3 doors per owner. That's how many doors their owner had on average. So I'm like, okay, so roughly you actually need to have 2 clients per month to get those 7 doors. And 2 clients, how many appointments do you have to go on for? And then how many leads do you need? 8. That's what the number was for them. So we started big, and then we fine-tuned into the small, which gives you the actions that you need to take. So if there was one thing that I would say that you need to do, it's get started and pick up the phone. Make a phone call, introduce yourself. If you don't want to call somebody, introduce yourself. Go to a brokerage and say, hey, I'm Jane with XYZ Property Management, and I was wondering who you guys refer your property management business to. Like, you have to take action.
Okay, now, the way you described that call, I'm guessing that was a BDM, one of the BDMs of one of our companies, not the company owner?
Oh, it was both. The BDM and the company owner were on the call.
But in terms of 150 calls per week, that's the BDM doing that, not the business owner, that kind of thing.
In that scenario, yes.
Yeah. Now, what if you're taking on a coaching client and they're coming to you today, they're like, Jay, they're the median size, which we know the median size property management companies is 100 units.
Yep.
And they're here as a business owner, and they're like, Jay, I'm still stuck in the weeds right now. I don't quite have my team built out to where I can just offload a bunch of things. I definitely can't afford a full-time BDM right now, but I know I want to do some growing. What would you say to that person?
I would probe more and ask more questions, but for this sake, I think I understand where this person is. I think what's happening is that this person lacks time because they're running around doing all the things. And in order to get more time, you have to have more hands. So I would say write down all of the things that are worth your time, right? All of the things that you need to be doing and all of the things that actually need to be done in person. Then write down on another sheet all of the things that you shouldn't be doing, that are not worth your time, that can be done from a desk. And basically you just created your first job description. And you should hire a remote team member to handle those things. And then that would free you up and give you the time so that you can start making those calls. So like you have to have, and that's the 4-pillar approach that we go by, right?
Yeah.
It's team, systems, profit, growth. Now, when you're under 100 doors, you got to focus on growth, right? But you still need to have the team. You have to have the capacity, and that's how you do that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And especially when you're really early on, like if you're like 25 units or whatever, it's, yeah, you gotta grow, you gotta just whatever. Get it, the way I put it is, you gotta get as much Play-Doh on the table as possible to start playing with the Play-Doh. And then you might realize you gotta cut some of that off later. But yeah, the problem is, like I have a lot of clients that come to us, they're like, yeah, I wanna grow. Just like you said, but how does your team look? How does your profit look? And how do your systems look? Because if you don't have those three pillars clicking, at least at some reasonable level, and you try to grow, it's like I always say, all you're doing is growing a bigger mess. You're growing chaos at that point. So yeah, you do have to take a step back and really consider what you're trying to solve when you say you want to grow in that regard.
It would have been nice if somebody said that to me.
Me too.
A while ago.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like it is sometimes nice to run into those issues, so that I'm thankful that I was able to, because now I'm able to help like you with other property management companies.
Now, what if you had a coaching client, business owner that came to us at say 200 to 400 units, and they had solved some of those team profit system. They're ready to get serious about growth. They don't have a full-time BDM. They're actually questioning if they're even the right person to do some of that growth stuff, or if they need to hire. Like, what would you say to that person? How do they figure that out? What does it look like when you're hiring or promoting a BDM for the first time? And what does that look like?
I think the first thing I would do is I would take a look at what their current strategy is. If they have a strategy, I would find out like how much they're spending on growth and where their lead sources are coming from. And then I would tie those two things together. So how much are you paying per new door that comes in from a realtor referral or website, or maybe something that you're paying paid ads or something like that. Like one of our clients fits the bill from what you were saying. And we dug in months ago. They were running Google ad campaigns. They were paying...
Oh, gosh.
Yo, man, they were paying a lot of money.
Thousands of dollars a month, I bet.
Yeah, they were. And we looked to see how many new doors came from that. Yeah, and it was 2.
Oh.
And their 2 primary, the best unit acquisition cost sources were from Realtor Referrals and, get this one, APM leads. All property management leads.
Okay.
The ones that you pay for, but you got to be a hustler and chase them. Cool. That's their superpowers. But their superpower was not the marketing aspect, because marketing takes a very specific type of strategy. So I would first look at that and see like where your superpower is for new doors, and then we would build a strategy from there.
Yeah.
It definitely gets more unique when you're at like 200 to 400, right? There's a lot of different moving parts and a lot of questions that you have to ask yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Any closing thoughts for us here?
This was a great video, and guys, let's just lean in for a second here. And no, not you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We'll just lean in here, and we love putting out great content videos for you. And subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our video, and let us put together more of these videos for you.